Welcome, Govind, once more time. I want to show this to the audience that I just bought this book uh, yesterday. It arrived. I ordered it via Amazon, and this is co-authored by Govind. So this is about, and it's a very good title. I like the title, Moonshots and Marathons, and marathons, because that's what it encapsulates deep tech. You have to look at it as marathon. In general entrepreneurship, you should look at it as a marathon. And moonshot is like you are thinking big right from day one, when you are even doing ideation. So I will let Govind talk about some examples from this book. I will stay on the stream. Govind, why you introduce yourself, and I have some questions I'll ask you, and then we'll have the audience ask questions.
Sure. Well, thanks, Rahul. For first of all, thank you for buying the book and uh, helping us spread the word. India is on a trajectory to become a product, nation, and we want to innovate more and more products, move away from a service economy to a product economy, and build more technologies in house. And that is a requirement for our sovereignty and for the future of the India. And with the vision that a lot of our talented researchers are developing great technologies, and how to really commercialize and bring it to the world is what we have tried to capture with my other two co-authors, Mr. Chirag, who is a VC fund, and Sunil, who is a Baring India portfolio and runs accelerator. We have been Our aim was to make sure that how to put this to the world, that uh, how we can create more and more products in India, right? So I think that with that intent, the book was written and kindly published by Penguin for distribution. And um, and the way the main fundamental that we talk about is that how what does a journey look like, how from the why of your building an organization till how to select your co-founders, how to go and select the incubators, how to build IP around your business, how to really make sure that you are exiting and have an exit plan for your investor and for yourself, right? So I think with that intention we have done that. And honestly, I think that's what that is what the whole intent of the conversation in the book is. And from the example point of view, we have taken a lot of examples of some deep tech companies around India, who have really done well to commercialization or bringing technology to the world, and still in the phase of commercialization. We have taken those examples to kind of show how we can, deep tech startups, and from academia to uh, the product, how what's the journey look like, right? So I'll pause here, and of course we can dive into deep conversations around the topics. I can talk about specific topics, Rahul, or specific areas which you believe that will audience, based on the audience
Hmm.
interest, and we invite the questions. I think it's a very open session, so I think
Yeah.
we can also ask audience to put some questions for me, anything that's specific that they are looking for. Of course, we can have that chat and build around it. Or otherwise, Rahul, I think would be
Yeah,
nice
yeah,
to
I have
get this.
some questions already. That And I think we should stick with what the audience is. I think they are. Let's assume almost everyone is faculty and students,
Yeah.
and my understanding is that deep tech innovation has some academic, connection. That fundamental science kind of is one aspect of deep tech innovation. So,
Hmm.
uh, s- like, uh, what do you think, how should, because, and students, faculty in general, they are busy doing research, they are busy doing academic stuff. They don't have time, or the skills, or incentives, so to say, to build startups, and immediately, professor, top professor, even if they cannot just spin up a company. So what should be their way forward to mature it, because 10 years, suppose we are talking about 7 years, I think this book even says like 7 years you should look at exit. You
Yeah,
should not even of exit. So what will make them do it for 7 to 10 years, as coming out of academia? Very like, it's an open question, whatever you think, how it
sure.
could
No,
go.
I think, Rahul, that is where very, very interesting, journey. For example, when you pick up something to do in your life, there is a certain motivation to it, right? And as a researcher, if you are really passionate about solving a problem or about a area, I think the most important conversation is also that, okay, what is the problem being solved and how is it going to also uh, going to impact the the world outside, right? See, the simplest example of deep tech is combining research and contribution with the capitalist intentions, right? I mean, that's how the world works. If you are solving and creating a technology, how does it really fit in the world where it is solving some real problem and it is generating something out of that, innovation? So I think that is the first one. The second is coming out of academia and thinking about deep tech or a startup. Is the first step is, of course, to set our intention and motivation, okay, why we want to create it. And second is to find what is the problem that we are trying to solve in a more practical manner, right? So there are two aspects to research. One is science risk and one is technology risk. When there is that you have we have passed the hurdle of science risk and the risk is on technology, right? Okay, so let's say I'm developing a new battery chemistry, right? The science risk is not there, that scientifically it will work, right? Scientifically there is no problem that it will have it is defying any laws of physics or anything. And if it is so, then the technology risk is about developing the technology to a level which is market ready, right?
Mhm.
And that is the point that you can think of, that okay, now we have passed the hurdle of science risk, now it's a technology risk and we have some idea of what is it that we want to build, then that's the right time to think about building a venture, right?
Mhm.
So that's a very, very high level, of course, conversation around when to do and how to do it. Yeah, I'm happy to extend this
Yeah,
if
yeah,
anyone is
yeah.
further.
Let's pick a even a smaller target audience. Let's say a PhD student at the end of their studies. So now they have done research for 4 5 years, and now let's say some very enterprising students want, they have the capability, but uh, we want them supposed to come to start their ventures. So what should be their strategy, like 101? What, how should their mind work? Incubators, fundraising, like steps, 1 2 3 steps, what could they do?
I think there is no, first of all, it's a lot of, so first is to convert research into market conversation, right? If you have no clue what to do and how to really go forward, think about the industries which your research is going to impact. Talk to at least 50 people or 100 people if you can,
Mhm.
on what problem they are trying to solve in the real world and how your research is going to impact that, right? So that's a one step, one is to validate whether the research is actually has a market potential or not, right? So if the research is not something that you believe that no, there is no one which is going to be using this, then of course look at the adjacent areas. Not saying that don't do it. It
Mm.
is something that, okay, on the adjacencies of your research topic, what can be built, right? The building of technology, building of a venture, you have to get out of academia mindset, right? You have to be open to criticism, you have to be open to learning something which is very normal for you. For example, you will say, oh, this problem is very simple, but business problems could be very simple, technologically or otherwise, but nobody has solved it, right? So be open to those conversations. So that is second. Third is to learn about business, uh, and not go in that frame of mind that, okay, I'm a PhD, I don't know business. I think everybody has ability to look at business in a very simplest manner, um, in a manner that, okay, business, one of the biggest hurdle I have seen in the mindset is, I'm a researcher, I don't know how to do business, right? And if you have that mindset, it's going to be hard, and even harder journey for you. It is important to build that mindset. There are books, there are resources. At least have that openness to learn. You can be expert in your topic, but you need to have understanding of how the world works in the business world,
Mm,
and that's a first step, right? If you can find a good co-founder who has a little bit of marketing sense. If you're a very introvert person and you feel that, I need
mm,
somebody who has good connections, so always also look and detect. Statistically speaking, it's not that you can't do it alone, but
mm,
statistically speaking, it is always to have a
mm,
co-founders, one or two, depending on what your business is. So you can also look for co-founders, where you align, and it could be your friend, it could be your people who are coming from a different areas, who can help you set up the business, who can take the business lead, you can still take the technical lead. Understanding
mm,
strength and weakness is very important in building this organization, right? So that is something I would say as a 101 for that. The Again, if you are still underconfident, maybe give 1 year, go and work with a startup, in a deep tech startup, as an intern, or just as a researcher. Understand the culture, understand how those companies are being built, what are those challenges, and that's a perfectly okay thing, right? I mean, of course, now the grant ecosystem is really good in India. You can always get grants to get started with. Incubation is kind of coming in. So there is mentors, there are people who you can learn from, but it is something that, it should give a joy, it should not become a pressure. I think that's something
mm,
that very, very important, that if you are taking doing this as a pressure, you will not
mm,
enjoy this, right? It's like running a marathon, and you don't want to run this marathon, and then you crib about that, oh, why did I sign up for this? Then
mm,
you're not enjoying that journey, right? I mean, who's asked you to sign for Airtel marathon when you had no endurance to go through it, right? So I think that's like a very simple way to look at it, right?
mm. Let's take some audience questions. I think some questions are there. Actually, quite many are there. Uh, let's see. This is a very good question because I see it a lot. Lot of people ask this question and in different formats. So, do you have any word on this? If we develop, so because this is what a student is worried about. This is what even professor is worried about. The If I invent and university owns it, then what happens. So, what should be the case, and is it a problem at all? What do you think?
So what's the question? If we invent.
If we develop an idea with a faculty member, how is the ownership or royalty shared?
Okay. Okay. So see, first of all, when the idea is developed, um, one thing that we become very, very possessive of is that it's my baby, and my baby is very beautiful, right? Not looking at its shortcomings and its potential, right? So that's fun. Be real. Is it really something that idea has been developed, and you are only paranoid just because you have developed it, right? So that's first step. That be Because it's also very, very much about execution of the idea, not only about the idea. So that's one. Now, coming back to the question that how to really address this in any agreement. If you look at the good ecosystems like IIT Madras, IITs, and good ecosystems which there has been academic startups. The model has been very simple, that the university will own the IP, and they will get some royalty at some point in time when the business gets successful, or they can stake a ownership on the business, and then they basically exit and kind of things, right? So that's one. That first thing is about clarity. Is that okay? Are you really going to do the startup, or is just you are only worried because and nobody is actually going to take it forward? Sometimes we have this uh, saying in Hindi, right? Gaon basa nahi lutere pehle aa gaye. Don't do that, right? Most of the time, we overestimate and over value things that we have developed, right? So first is to get in that space first. Second is to have a clarity on the document. Okay, if you are developing with faculty members from the day one, have a vision clear. Okay, if it is developed, then how it is going to be done. Universities typically have a very standard set of royalty and all these agreements where they will either transfer the technology, or they will be stakeholders in the company at a some level. So that's again depending on the university which you are in, you can always figure out that model what works with them, and do the paperwork early, or at least have a agreement and have this difficult conversation early. What happens is that we avoid these conversations, right? And that really creates a lot of problems.
Mm,
If you are not trusting your university or professor and your colleagues, and you are thinking that they will steal your idea, it's a wrong foundation to start any relationship, right? I mean,
mm,
that's in life also, right? That if you have that, no, these are not good people I am working with, then don't work with them, right? I think that's little bit, I would say spiritual or what, I don't know. It's a little bit
mm,
more off the topic, but I think that also applies here, right? Do the paperwork, do have this conversation early enough. Make sure that you are also in a space that you are letting go, because when you will build your organization, there will be times that you will have to dilute your equity, your ownership of the company. And if you are not willing to do it, if you don't have the mindset of sharing, it's going to be even harder for you, because VCs will come. See, people will want to have a share of the pie, right? And if you have trouble, it's going to be even difficult for you, right?
mm,
Imagine that you have 100% of the company and it has no money, right? Or if you have 10% of the company but it has a lot of money. So I think that's also a mindset thing, Rahul. Of
yeah,
course, IP and all those conversation bakes into this conversation as well, that file your provisional, have your assignment agreements in place, have multiple assignments, so patent can be assigned to a company and to a university and to a inventor. All of them have a equal right unless they have a some agreed on the paper otherwise. So
mm,
those things are definitely can be done legally, right? Of course, these are things that are basic, legal hygiene, or let's say
mm,
paperwork. As such, the first step is to have this conversation more openly, which we don't do, which we don't
exactly.
do.
Exactly. I mean, idea is such a early stage, so that's what but yeah, there's the same Lola Hridyan, he's asking another follow-on question on patent provisional filing. So is it better for a startup founder to file a provisional patent early, or wait until the fully product is fully developed? I mean, you can talk about IP strategy in general also, like, okay, let's
Sure.
assume this part is taken care of, the
Hmm.
conversations and all.
Sure. So see, for the IP strategy, first is there are two parts to IP, right? One part is what is it that you have. So let's say if we have to develop a IP strategy for a startup, right? Now, the basic activity you have to do and sit down or incrementally build a list of things that, okay, what makes your company or idea great, right? Is it you? Is it the market? Is it technology that you have created? And in the technology, what exactly you have solved? For example, let's say if I have created a new battery which can be charged in, say, 10 seconds, right? Now, that is great. Let's say that is the innovation that I have created. Now, in that 10-second charge, you have to think about what were my elements of this success. One, I solved the problem of heat, I solved the problem of chemistry, I have solved the problem of, let's say, holding the charge, or the shape and the size. So what we are doing is we are first putting things together and listing those ideas, right? And then we go one by one and see, can it be protected by a patent or trademark or design or anything else, right? That's a second step. Now then the question comes, when should we file provisional, when we should kind of get the non provisional. the thumb rule is the thumb rule again is that, in case you know that, okay, hey, this is a great idea. Let's say if I say that, okay, I have an idea based on my understanding of technology and things, that there is, if we do this, if we build this product with the step 1 2 3 4 5 and 8, it will work, right? Right now it's an idea, scientifically it works, but I don't have probably all the ingredients or all the testing and all the examples, or I have not tested it in the real world, but it's a great idea. But I know on a high level it is sound, it will work, and I have a fair idea that what it is, what the idea is all about. How, I don't know yet, I still need to do it. If you are at that stage, provisional is a very good idea. That I know that what is it that I'm going to do, these are the things I'm going to implement, this is how, but I have not done the how, but I know on a high level how I have done it, how will I do it. Once you have this, you can file a provisional application, right? And the reason to do it early enough is so that when you are taking this idea to the conversations with your possible incubators, or professors, or R&D organizations, or your customers, or people who you want to discuss this idea, you have a psychological safety, and you can also tell them that, hey, I have filed a patent on this idea. And there is a psychological moat in their head that, no, the guy is serious, he is actually pursuing this idea, and he has IP around it, right? And then in 1 year you have opportunity to further develop the idea, validate the idea, work on it, technically work on it. You will have more data examples to support your technology solutions, and you file a complete application, right? Now let's say you already have these things already in place, you already have an idea, you already have tested it, you already know that it will work. Then provisional will only offer some cost saving, not really maybe required in that sense, right? You can always go for direct application in that moment also, right? Provisional is usually a time saving mechanism, cost saving mechanism, and also required when we are not really sure how to really do it, or I have not done it, but I have a very very solid idea, and I know that I want to protect it so that I can talk to many many people, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, that is something on the provisional and non-provisional. And one of the basic thing I would, from the IP strategy point of view, I would say, inventory your inventory of your IP is the first step. Then the strategy will come. Strategy is what? Strategy is a means to get to a goal, right? And your goal is to develop the business, build a business, and then IP strategy is basically linked to your business strategies. So important is, list your IPs, list and have a clarity of your business goals, and then with those inventories of your IP, you can build a strategy to align it with your business strategy, right? Is it making sense? Rahul, and happy to build on it
Yeah,
if in case you want to pick up something specific in this.
yeah. I mean, break down everything into first principles, and that's what you arrive at. That
Yeah,
before thinking of IP strategy in general, you do like an audit, like what you want, what you need, and what you have. So yeah, and then things, you build upon that, and that becomes what we are calling, because we, in general, people use strategy word very loosely.
yeah, yeah.
So definitely it makes sense. I mean, uh, okay, I think I found one more question which is interesting. uh, According to you, during the stage between POC to MVP, what grants are best on the basis for development needs. So POC
Hmm.
is proof of concept, and MVP is minimum viable product for the audience. So yeah, so this person is probably in that stage. And what grants are best on the basis of the needs? Gaurav Sisodia.
So Gaurav, I think a lot of grants are available either via incubators, and I'll also touch upon incubator analogy and what we have also covered in the book as well, right? See, first of all, there are various grants. If you're in a bio space, there's a BIRAC grant. Then there are grants which are available from where there is a 50-50 grant, where there is some money which is coming from incubator or VCs, and then there's some government grant is coming. There's a very big grant which is coming in called as RDI fund, which is still under deployment, and government is actually putting that budget 1 lakh crore that was announced is now getting into that shape, right? But I think grants is very much depending on what technology you are building. Like for bio, there is a BIRAC, then there is for in electronics, there is a METI grants. For a lot of other grants, then there are even some corporates have grant ecosystems as well when you are developing, depending on what technology you are developing. So it's a little bit broader question, to be fair, Rahul, that what grants, because there's a list of grants. There are a lot of companies who websites and resources which list these things. The important thing is to understand that how the grant and what are the attachments to those grants, because while the grants are a great tool for developing a product, but they also come with lot of responsibility, lot of paperwork. As a founder, do you have that bandwidth to do it? That's also something you must consider while picking up these grants, because
Mhm.
these are very intensive grants where of course, to avoid misuse of these money, there's a lot of compliance attached to it. Please understand those compliances also. What are the limitation of those grants? How much time will it take to get that grant in the bank? What happens that some products just die because of the paperwork and the long gestation of these grants coming to the bank, right? Because it's a process. It's a process which is, yes, it has gone efficient for the, but make sure that before you rely on grants, understand the nuances of requirements, how much time it takes, does it fit in your model, what are the accountabilities, who is the right person to dispense this grant, and all those things, right? And
Mhm.
then it will be easier for you to get those grants, right? Because I have seen many grants from various ministries. Now there is a very much pressure on most of the ministries to also have these grants program. I have seen grants from Ministry of Heavy Industries and all those things, right? But they are working to a certain project problem statements. See, do you fit in those problem statements? What is the process of those things? So then you will be fine. But grant will have its journey and also accountabilities, and incubators are sometimes a good ecosystem for that, right? And for incubators, I always, and I think we have also kind of covered in the book as well, that there are incubator types, right? For example, there is
Mhm.
one category called as university based, where you are R&D heavy startup. You need equipments, resources to develop your product, right? Lab access, academic mentorship. Then you can opt for a more university based incubators. Then if you are at a stage that, okay, I need to do pilots, I need to do early stage pilots, there are corporate innovation programs which aligns, most of good corporates are now specifically have corporate innovation program. Like we know, at least in GMR, I know a few people and all those things. Even a lot of traditional companies have corporate innovation programs. That is a good for access to industry and pilot projects, right? Of course, they may lock you in agreements and all those things, but again, it's something that could be a good. Then there are venture backed accelerators or incubators, like Sachi is there, Techstarters is there, Vice is there for
Mhm.
in case you can get in. It's something that it is ready to commercialize. You just need growth and mentorship. You just want to go out and do the market stuff. And then there are government grants. Of course, it is non-dilutive, but again, as I said, it's a slow approval and rigid spending restrictions. Grants will come with
Mhm.
a very rigid spending restrictions that make that may also slow you down. So
Mm.
understand before you raise grants. And there are various grants agencies. You can always research. I don't know which industry you are from, but in bio there is a separate grant. Then there is electronics. There is a lot of grants. STPI in the software space, they have grant structures like Summers program and all those things. Again, understanding and going to right people is a key. Like in the market, you need to know who is your customer, and same for your fundraise journey. Who is the VC who is interested, who works in this space, who has capabilities, who has network, which grants work for you. So that's also build you to be more specific.
Mm.
It's always in the startup is start with the niche. If you don't have resources to do mass, and
Yeah.
since we are talking about deep tech, right? So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so in deep tech, I'll ask a question because I don't see a good question. I mean, there are some questions a bit general, but yeah, we have still 10 minutes of Govind's time. So, audience, I would tell you to please use it. Okay, it's not every day you will get 10 minutes of his time. So, one question I have is, suppose there is deep tech investor, a VC. Where do they scout for potential good startups? Is it incubators
Mhm.
or is it somewhere outside incubators? Do you have any like idea about it, or say how would you say if you were to find one or two good startup as an angel investor, what would where would you look for?
Sure. See, I think first principle of getting noticed and getting in the list of investors is to show up. Is to show up in as many people as you can, and as many events as you can. Of course, relevant ones where you know that it is going to be a deep tech and all those things, right? So first is typically VCs hang around, university incubators. There are a lot of events which happens, and that's where they get interested in. Also, depending on the problem they are solving, right? See, it's like the analogy that I always give is that if you have to find, like for example, let's say, hey, I want to um, I want to identify people who have money, right? Let's say if that's the conversation, how would you do it, right? The way you would do it is, of course, to define what kind of people, what kind of things that they are doing, right? For example, let's say that person plays golf, right? So what do? You try to be around golf course areas. You can see cafes around it. You can try to get a membership around it, right? So first is to think like a mindset thing that okay, if VCs are looking for startups, they are looking in pitch competitions, they are going in universities, they are going in they are looking social media, they are looking news, they are looking at problems that they are trying to fund and believe that people are solving, and they talk about on social media, put demos out, uh, be in the networking events, meet as many people. And a lot of things in this industry also word of mouth also, right? That you have to kind of speak to mentors, speak to as many people and as you can think of. So I think that's where it's not a one size that okay, if I sit in this place, I'll automatically get interest. That's not true, right? Of course,
Mhm.
if you are sitting in some of the good incubators, they automatically have ecosystems where they will put you in pitch competitions and in front of investors. But even if you are not incubated, I think uh, important is to identify which kind of investors you are targeting, and then follow them, comment on them. It's like
Mhm.
stalking person, right? I mean, if I like a person, then sometimes you have to stalk that person,
Yeah.
right? So that's how you get noticed, right? It's like when you were in
Yeah.
college and you like a girl, how do you do that, right? How do you get noticed from that girl, right? Or the boy. I don't want to be gender specific, but that's humans are humans, and we know our way around, right? So remember your 11th or 12th or engineering days that you like a person and you want to get noticed. What do? You just stay around those places where that person goes, right? And try
Mhm.
to create a conversation with them, and yeah, then you'll be if there is some chemistry and things, that things will work out, right? You will fall in love and probably get married. If not, then it's okay to date, right? So that's how I will put it.
Yeah, you still have to be sincere. I play golf and I actually see a lot of people who are just there looking for high net worth people. And in principle, golf, a high net worth person is playing to relax. I mean, to they are not there to listen to sales pitches. But of course, if the somebody sincere and if it works out, I mean, nobody wants to say no to a good conversation, a
Absolutely.
sincere, good conversation. So
Absolutely.
again, on the one hand it doesn't work at all, but on the other hand everybody's open. I mean, if you are sincere and okay,
Yeah.
okay. So one more question, Gaurav Sisodia. They have he has an interview recently for incubation for Venture Studio Ahmedabad. What things should I prepare myself? So as a founder, say if there's a interview with a VC or a incubation center, how should they prepare?
Yeah. First is to have that clarity of what is it that they are building, right? And also conviction. Sometimes they will challenge you, they will give you something, and then you like, okay, So I think that's one. Second, have a story. Why you are doing this, or and a genuine story, not a made up story and chat GPT stuff, right? Why why you are doing this? What they are trying to understand is, do you have the conviction in the bad days? Will you still get up and do it, right? That's the one thing that they're looking, right? Is this problem really worth solving, and do you have the capability to solve it, right? And one of the things that we always have this question around the investment community, that who do you bet your money on, horse or the jockey, right? In the early stage deep tech, it's always about the jockey, not about the horse, right? Because horse can be changed, business can pivot, but the founder remains, right? So when you're preparing for these interviews, I think have a very strong conviction, build your story, why you are doing it, and be genuine about it. People see through people. If you are trying to show that something that you are not, they will find it. They are experienced people. They deal with people all the time, right? So make sure that you come prepared with your story, what problem that you solve, why you want to solve it. If there is any personal story, or your expertise, why do you want to do it? um, yes, money is what you want to make, but probably that's the last thing you want to say, that I want to exit this business in 5 years. But that's great, but what value that you will create in 5 years is what they're looking for, right? So be a person that people bet money on you and your team. Idea is definitely important, but more than that, it is a person. It is not the horse, it is the jockey. People bet money on.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay, let's take a couple of more, as much time as we have. How important is strong IP portfolio in attracting investors for deep tech startups compared to traction or revenue? So Vaishnavi is asking. So IP
Sure.
portfolio versus traction.
See, again, it's like when you build a house, right? And I give an analogy, and I think analogy is the best way to learn these things, right? That when you are building analogy, oh, sorry, when you are building a house, you want to have a very nice fence, a good lock on the house, which kind of indicates that the house has some valuable stuff. There are some interesting people live in who are valuable, right? But it has to also be on the street where there are people, right? That means that there are. It is not in the middle of nowhere. There is no one to come and look for that house. So, if you say what is important, traction or IP, I would say it's like asking a question. The house has to be at the right place, or the fence is important. Both are important, right? Uh, so the way to look at it is that what in your stage of business, what is it that is important at this stage, right? Building a house in the right location is the first priority, always. There's no question about it. But protecting it in that space is also very, very important. So you do it parallelly and do it intelligently. You can't live without both. So
Mhm.
there is a very hard choice between traction and IP portfolio. But the way to look at it is that when you build something and it has a very bad storefront, it's like, go in a retail shop.
Mhm.
uh, there is amazing things available in that, but it has a very shitty, storefront, no protection, no guards, and you want to invest in that business. Would you do it?
Mhm.
Right? Probably not. So I
Yeah.
think that's the way to think about it, rather than getting too much complicated about these topics. No, I think just take a cue from your day-to-day life. You will find all these answers, right? So
Exactly.
I would say IP is important, very, very important to protect what you own, but also build what you actually has value, right? Build something which has value, then you will protect. No,
Mm.
uh, then for
Exactly.
sure, head and investors look for both. They look for good product, and they look for
Mhm.
experience. When you go out in a hotel, you look for a great hotel, and you also look for, protection and safety and security, but you also look for experience, right? It is
Yeah.
how it is. This is
It
how
is how it
we
is.
work.
Yeah, I remember Jack Welch, CEO of General Electric. He made it a culture that no, we want both. People are always like, either you'll get quality or either you'll get speed. He's like, no, no, we need both. It's like only that's how you do innovation, and that's how you build something. So
Yeah.
really amazing. We need both. I mean, why is it even a question? This or that?
Yeah.
Okay, Sunid Mantri, he's asking, I have registered as a trademark attorney. How do I start my career with startups? Please let me know any platform to pitch with the startups. Okay,
As
so
a
I think
trademark
he
attorney.
wants to, yeah, I think he wants to help startups to trademark probably. So probably he has his own consulting. He wants to either build or has his own consulting, and he wants to help startups. Or where, please let me know any platform to pitch with the startups to the startups.
See, again, service business is always about relationship, right? I mean, any service for that matter, right? And I think it's important to kind of identify, and I think take the same analogy, right? That if you want to find out people who you want to talk to, see where they hang out, what they do, can you help them, what is the value that you can create. There is no one platform that I can say, hey, just go and do it, because running a business myself, I can tell you there is no single business, there is no single platform where you find everything. It is about meeting people, going and building the network of, and then the word of mouth, and then maybe doing some marketing and stuff will help, of course. With patent office coming very heavily on internet marketing, on trademarks and stuff, is also making it not so easy. But I think I would say go and meet as many people as you can. If you want to start doing some things, meet at least 100 founders. I'm sure you will find business, right? But make a target of meeting 100 people, right? So go ahead and do it, and then you will find your way, right? So I think that would be my answer to that question.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Govind. I think that we should end it, even though one more question is there, because we have
I
to
can I can
respect.
take
Yeah.
one last question, and then we can
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Let's say Gaurav
that's fine.
Sisodia. So, if grants may slow you down, what would be the most suitable way to bring funding without diluting equity? And if there is dilution of equity, at first, how much should I give?
See, again, it's a very contextual and very the most easy answer for me is to say it depends.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of business it is, but see, if it is a very capital intensive, R&D focused, business and technology, then dilution, of course, will happen, right? Grants will slow you down, but it also will keep you awake. It will also keep you alive. You must, build take funding at a stage where investor also has something to contribute. If you are at a science risk and not really sure what to do, I think then grants and incubation, maybe grants is a good way. Yes, it will slow you down, but at the same time you will also build something which is worthy for investments. See, again, there's a very fine line between till what time you can stay alive with grants, and till what time and how much network do you have with these grant agencies, and how much active you are in this ecosystem also, right? I would say dilution, you have to also ask a question that how much you are willing to dilute in the journey, right? What is it that business is worth in the next 5 to 6 years, and then based on that you decide your dilution. Because I have seen founders who have not diluted more than 10% yet have built successful. I've seen founders who have diluted more than 50%, and they became successful. It is a very
Yeah.
contextual thing. And I think a lot of this also we have talked about in the book. Of course, I would recommend you to also read that. But again, there is a lot of uh, theories and thesis around it, but it all boils down to what kind of person you are, right? And maybe incubation is a good start, depending on what technology and what is it that you are building. Find a right incubator for yourself. That could be a good start. Yes, you have to dilute a little bit, but yeah, incubation is a good way to start in that ways. And also remember that incubator is like a greenhouse. If you stay too long in a greenhouse, a plant will never grow in greenhouse, right? In a big, the trees do not grow in greenhouse. Only
Mhm.
saplings grow to a little bit, like they can survive in the harsh environment of the world, right? Some people choose to stay in incubator for a long, long time, and they never get to a stage of a tree or big plant, right? Because
Yeah.
you are in a test in a very, very, very controlled environment, right? Controlled environment are good to a certain point, like our life, right? If we stay always under the shadow of our parents, you will not be able to maybe fulfill your
Mhm.
potential, right? You have to sometime get out of that shadow and say that, okay,
Mhm.
let me do the hard things, let me learn my lessons, and see the world, right? And that's how incubator also works. So I'm not saying that incubation is the only solution, but if you are small, if you know that you need survival, just find a good incubator and get started, right? I mean, it depend again. I've shared all those things, when to
Mhm.
what, but that would be my answer.
Yeah.
And sometimes you know the answer and see what works for you, right? So